Here's 2 ways to add motivation to your next speech. Hey, what's up, my friends? My name is Daryl Stinson. I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker and your speaker coach, since you're watching this video. And this video is about 2 ways that you can incorporate motivation into your next speech. The first way that you can do this is by speaking to your audience's limiting belief. The second way that you can do this is by speaking to your audience's overwhelming emotion. Okay. The first one, you're speaking to their belief. The second way, you are speaking to their emotion. So let's start with the first one. Let's say that your subject matter is basket weaving, and it can be anything, right? Like it could be making money online, building funnels, building a house with your bare hands and completely naked with no shoes on. Like whatever your skill set is or whatever your message is, you're teaching a person that. So I'm going to use basket weaving for an example. And let's say that there is a level of success that you're claiming that a person can have in your particular subject matter. What you want to do is you want to list out what are some limiting beliefs that they may have that could cause them not to be successful in the way that I say they could be. So if I'm teaching or doing a speech about how you can make $1 million by being a basket weaver, I am going to teach all the strategies and the skills that they need to be able to do that. I'm going to teach them how to weave and how to get the material, where to pose, how to write descriptions, like all that stuff. And then in order to motivate, I'm going to speak to that limiting belief that they may have, that let's say one of their limiting beliefs is that it's way too competitive for me to be successful in the online market. So I would speak to that limiting belief like this. I would teach all the strategy and tactics, and I would say, hey, I know you may be feeling like the market is way too saturated for you to make money online by being a basket weaver. I want you to know that that couldn't be less true, that just because there's competition in the marketplace doesn't mean that that's evidence that there's not place for you. It actually is proof that people want to buy what it is that you'll be selling. So I want you to get rid of that limiting belief, and I want you to start to think that there is more than enough room for you, that people are waiting for you to post your creativity online, that just because there's one Burger King doesn't mean that there can't be 2, or just because there's one First Watch restaurant or Juicy Crab or Hibachi, which is one of my favorite restaurants, doesn't mean that there's not room for another one. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking this strategy of speaking to their limiting belief, and now I'm using a technique called layering. Okay, layering as it relates to motivation is when you add multiple reasons or examples for a person not to think that certain way. And so I was giving the example of competition not being evidence that there's not room for them. And then I use the example of a restaurant, and I can continue to add example and example. And the more I do that, it's kind of like building this momentum that, oh, example. Like now I'm starting to get motivated. I'm starting to think that this is possible for me. And then you can also layer on different thoughts that they might be thinking. So one limiting belief may be that the market is too saturated. Another limiting belief may be that they're not creative enough. And I want you to know that, hey, the market's not too saturated. There's still room for you. The competition is evidence that people want what you have to sell. And I know that you may feel like you're not creative enough. And I want you to know that you don't have to be the most creative person in the room in order to make money online. All you need to be is yourself. And so I'm motivating, I'm speaking to that limiting belief. And by doing so, I'm adding motivation into my basket weaving speech. So the second way is to speak to their overwhelming emotion. And sometimes when we talk about this, their emotions that they may be feeling that's overwhelming them may have nothing to do with the strategies and tactics that you're teaching them. It may just have to do with overall life pressure. So maybe they do believe that they can make money online, specifically $1 million in basket weaving, but they are a single parent and they're trying to figure out like how to pay bills, and they don't have enough money, or they don't feel like they have enough time because they're overwhelmed. They barely even got time for themselves. Or maybe it's that they got too many projects moving right now, and they're just feeling this overwhelming emotion like, oh my gosh, I got so much going on that I can't really believe in what you're saying to me right now. I can't take your message to heart. And so what we're going to do is we're going to speak to that overwhelming emotion. And let's say like those were some of their emotions. And the way that I would do that in my speech is I would say, hey, I know right now you're probably really excited about all the things that's possible in making money online as a basket weaver, but maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all the other responsibilities that you have. And maybe you feel like, man, you're just trying to make ends meet for your children and you barely have time to take care of yourself. I want you to know that, like, I've been there before. I know what that feels like. And this is still possible for you. In fact, you don't even worry about all the strategies and tactics that you have to do. All you need to focus on is the next step. Hey, you may feel like you don't have enough time and you're overwhelmed by all the responsibilities that's on your plate right now. I want you to know that you can be successful and still make $1 million with just, watch this, 15 minutes a day. So now I'm using this strategy of speaking to their emotion with a tactic or technique called bite sizing. Have you ever heard the quote, how do you eat an elephant? And they say, one bite at a time. As it relates to motivation, you can bite size and be able to add motivation into your speech. And so instead of making them feel like they need to eat this big, huge elephant, you're making them understand that their next step is just this small little bite of 15 minutes a day. And because of that, they're now motivated because what seemed impossible, now they have a clear pathway to success. So another way to think about this is for the people who are teaching like more abstract concepts like self-love, self-care, purpose, like fulfillment, those types of things, you can still use this strategy of speaking to that emotion and bite sizing. So especially for those things, because sometimes emotional overwhelm is harder to deal with like tactical overwhelm, like time versus like feeling inadequate. I'll give you an example. Let's say that my speech is about how to love yourself unconditionally. Okay. And I'm doing this talk about it and I'm giving them all the strategies of self care and all the declarations to declare over themselves and all the things that they need to do in order to get to this place of receiving and abiding in unconditional love for themselves. But maybe instead of trying to get them to love themselves unconditionally, I help them to love one thing about themselves, because maybe unconditional love for self is just too big of an elephant to take to eat at once, and maybe they need to take one bite size. Because I tell you what, I've been there as a suicide survivor where like people try to say all these amazing things about me, and that is too much for me to chew on. I needed to find one thing that I could agree with and love about myself. And so sometimes that is a win. Maybe I'm not at a place yet where I can believe in myself despite my weaknesses and my strengths, believe myself despite my flaws and my successes. Maybe I just need to focus on and celebrate a success that I have and find a way to love myself and appreciate myself in that way. And now that is motivating me because it doesn't overwhelm me by trying to eat this whole elephant of belief. Okay. So just wanted to cover that for the people who speak to more abstract topics. All right, so let's recap. Two ways that you add motivation to your next speech is number one, by speaking to your audience's limiting belief. And to multiply your effectiveness when you do that, you can use a technique that I mentioned in the video called layering. The second way that you can add motivation to your next speech is to speak to your audience's overwhelming emotion. In the fast track strategy to make that more effective is that you can use a technique called bite sizing in order to make that more effective. So speak to their limiting belief, speak to their overwhelming emotion, and that is how you add motivation to your next speech. If you found this video helpful, I want you to take a couple of action steps. Number one, I want you to head over to the private Facebook community, search Speaking Made Profitable, and request to join the group. It is a group of speakers helping speakers and is led by yours truly. And it doesn't matter if you're a full-time speaker and you're making a ton of money, or you're just a person who wants to grow in your ability to communicate at work, in your marriage, or with your family. This group is for you. You can get free speaking leads. You can find more tips and strategies on helping you grow in your ability to communicate and resolve conflict. And you can connect and network with other speakers like yourself. Just go to Speaking Made Profitable or click the link in the show notes to join the group. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to share this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and like blow this thing up, because this tells YouTube that this is content worth listening to, that this is helpful content that more people in the world should literally watch and take advantage of. So you can help me help others by literally engaging with this content. So it takes like 15 seconds to comment and share the video. So please just take 15 seconds out of your day to do that, and I would greatly appreciate it. All right, so I'm done running my little commercials for today. I hope you found this helpful. I want you to remember one thing, that we live in a world of abundance, that there's enough money, enough peace, enough joy, enough love to go around, that no one should live in lack unless they desire. You, my friend, are a part of an abundant world, and I want you to spread that message to everyone you see.